They don't want you to know this information. And in fact, this is the second book we've written. The first one was called Plague, and this is about literally about our groundbreaking discoveries of mouse cancer causing viruses, the publication in a journal Science. And when it became clear that of the number of strains of these mouse cancer causing and neuroimmune disease causing viruses that had entered the human virome by way of a contaminated blood supply and contaminated vaccines with lots of animal tissues and lots of different viruses, they needed to shut this down, because of course this is exactly what happened. What is COVID-19, a coronavirus that entered the human virome in a way that wasn't natural, that is not a natural evolution of a virus that's being sold as anything but. So when the data became clear that this virus it was in the human virome by a contaminated blood supply that could have been contaminated for 30 years, 25 times more people were infected than in HIV/AIDS at the height of HIV in this country in 1991. So as the data emerged that likely these mouse viruses got into humans by way of contaminated vaccines, then of course the hammer began to fall where publications were published, and I was told to deny the data, to misrepresent the data, to throw the data away. And when I refused to do so, I was fired. My lab was locked down on September 29th, and 2 offices and my entire 30-year career and everything, my notebooks, everything was confiscated. Then I'm arrested at the door with no warrant, as I'm surrounded by police cars. My house is, the water has the Harbor Patrol in it. There's no warrant. My husband's pushed into a chair. They search my entire house. They take me away in foot shackles and hand shackles in front of the entire neighborhood, who all said they knew something was going on because of the amount of force that was used. I was held in jail for 5 days in Ventura County without bail, on a bail hold, without the possibility, never saw a judge, never saw a lawyer. And the charges that were reported in the journal Science on November 19, 2011 in Science Insider by John Cohen, Cohen, was that nobody filed the warrant. Meaning not Ventura County, not Sparks, not Reno, where the institute, my employers were, not Washoe County. And the only thing they could conclude was that these felony charges for fugitive from justice had to come from one of several federal agencies. So I'm held on felony charges of a fugitive from justice, and I don't so much as have a parking ticket. You have to base a charge like that on something. It was based on nothing. NIH, the NIH and the National Cancer Institute in Frederick, Maryland, when I went, that they still say I'm a fugitive from justice, or did the last time I was there, which was November 15, 2016, when I went to go to Fort Detrick, to the laboratories where I worked for 22 years. Literally my last job was as the director of the internationally acclaimed lab of antiviral drug mechanisms, where we made drugs for AIDS-associated cancers and did much pioneering research in the 2 years there when I developed that lab. When the study was unblinded, there was a very super secret phone call, a conference call with Tony Fauci, Francis Collins, and Harold Varmus. And during this super secret conference call, we were all told there was no association. And this was after we were told every study center was equally represented. We know that he stopped the study and we would have found more than 80% positive. And I said during that phone call, I said, that's okay. 6% is still 25 million Americans at that time. Our table 3 of the study that was published in September and October in MBio is the journal. It's called MBio by Ian Lipkin. The abstract of the paper said there was no evidence of XMRVs found by any group. Clearly, on table 3 of that paper, there was 6.1% in the patients and 6.1% in the controls. So yes, there was no association, but we still, every single study that was ever done showed between 4 and 7.8% of the US population was infected, were asymptomatic carriers, if you were, and some very, very ill with many, many cancers.
The crisis is in your head. Now that's the bad news. The good news, you can change the crisis by changing what's inside your head. If you think this is a bad time, guess what? You're right, it's bad. But if you think this is possibly the best time for you, you can move forward. The choice is between your head, your heart, your body, your mind, your spirit. That's where the choice, the metamorphosis, the evolution or the transformation from an immature form, mommy, daddy going to take care of me, mommy and daddy going to pay for my education, the government's going to give me Social Security, I have a 401k, my employer's an asshole, You're going to evolve from that into an adult. That's metamorphosis. Right. The coronavirus and the coming crash, financial collapse possibly, marks the end of the industrial age and the beginning of the information age. It's a very big move. And the people that are in trouble today are people still stuck in industrial age thoughts. The people that are struggling financially haven't moved on yet. So that is my message, that is your message. It's time to move on. So being target market for coronavirus, look, let me give you my health problems here, I've had pneumonia 3 times. I've had malaria. I've had open heart surgery. I've had cancer. Now, that's the bad news. You know what the good news is? I'm aware I had to become healthier. I don't want some vaccine to protect me. It's my responsibility to protect myself. And that's what you do with all your running and things like this. So that's all it is to me. Now, if you're in trouble today, my message is not so kind. This is hard talk, not happy talk. Because as I was warning everybody, this crisis was coming. But it would be irresponsible of me to warn people of the crisis and not personally make changes myself. So The good news is the crisis is in your head. The bad news is in your head.
But what do you mean by the crisis is in their head? Because most people will react very strangely to that statement. They'll say, no, Robert, it's out there, and it's this little virus that's moving around and infecting and killing people. But that's not the way you see it.
Well, the virus is real. The question is, how healthy are you? So I could be a victim right now saying, I have heart disease, diabetes, I'm overweight, I've had pneumonia 3 times, I've had malaria, and all that did was inspire me to be healthier. And so let me give you my definition of health. Health is mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, and then physical health. So I spend a lot of money and time on my mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health, and my physical health. And the average person goes to their doctor once a year for an annual checkup. That's not health, that's called medicine. So this is my biggest complaint, is that who determines our medicine is the insurance companies, some of the biggest financial institutions in the world. So the average person, because they have no wealth, can't afford my health care. They can't afford my, the physician I see is $5,000 a visit. And if you have health insurance, they won't see you. So that's healthcare and wealth care. So if you're still thinking your physician is going to save you, that's old thinking. If you think that you spiritually can do what you don't like, that's old thinking. You know, job security and all that's old thinking. If you think you can just, if physical exercise for you is shopping, you're out of luck. And mental health is crucial. I mean, what thoughts do you have in your head? If you grow up mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, and health-wise, voila, this is the best thing that happened to me. But if you're still a victim, you're not going to make it. So for many people, this corona crisis and the ensuing depression that we're going into is your wake-up call, or you're going to be a victim, and somebody's going to step on you like the little worm you are because you didn't metamorphosize. You didn't transition from an immature form to a mature form. So I'm okay today is I can prove I know what I'm talking about. Doesn't mean I don't have problems, because every problem makes me stronger. But if you can have that attitude, improve your financial education, you'll do fine. This will be the best thing that ever happened to you. If not, this is the worst thing that happened to you. The metamorphosis begins when you look in the mirror. And it's just like when I was going to blow this little boy's head off in Vietnam. I said, why am I doing this? Why am I going to kill this little 10-year-old boy? And he was a Viet Cong. I mean, I was justified by the rules of engagement to shoot him. But one day I wondered, why am I doing this? And if you're standing in front of the mirror today, with this coronavirus and looming depression, how did I get here is the question. What don't I know? What did my information, education, cultural background, what did not prepare me for today? That's where the transformation of the metamorphosis begins. I mean, you take responsibility. Everybody talks about rights, but we have personal responsibilities too. And unfortunately, our university systems have failed us miserably. And the reason for that is every professor wants tenure. That's my whole family. That was the most important thing about getting a job, was tenure, job security for life. And that's what they teach kids without knowing it. They teach kids that life is dangerous and you need to be protected. So those of you at home right now who are sitting going, but I'm going to lose my job, my house, my pension, and all this, it's because you're trapped with old thoughts. And as most people know, is that, when I came up with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 20-something years ago, mainstream media crucified me. They said, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, the rich don't work for money. Savers are losers. Your house is not an asset. And I was crucified, just crucified. And the good news is, as several of your guests have said, the most important thing you can have now is not job security, but meaningful work. So you and I don't need the money, but our work is meaningful. And it's our meaningful work that gets us through the hard times. If you're losing money right now, the problem starts in what you were taught in school. Because they never taught you anything about money. They never taught you about a financial statement, like my rich dad did. They teach you that diploma is everything. It's a piece of toilet paper. So this is how what Fuller talked about, the prison is inside our head, Buckminster Fuller. It starts with misinformation and misorientation. Misinformation, misorientation. And he says, how dare our schools punish kids for making mistakes? How else do you learn if you don't make a mistake and learn from your mistake? He says, God designed us. I'm not really religious, I'm not preaching, okay? God designed us to learn by making mistakes. For instance, a baby learns to walk by falling down. Baby learns, to ride a bicycle by falling off the bicycle. Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer ever in history of the world, because he made more mistakes than you and I did. But our schools punish you for making mistakes. That's misorientation, misinformation. My message is the same as some of your other guests. This is metamorphosis time. Financial education, in Rich Dad's terms, is really financial transformation. And definition of metamorphosis is very important. Metamorphosis, the definition is the evolution or the transformation from an immature form to an adult form. An immature form to an adult form. Metamorphosis is the same as a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. And Fuller always said there's nothing to predict a butterfly inside a caterpillar. So everybody listening right now, if you're struggling financially, just think of yourself as a little caterpillar. And this crisis is your cocoon. The question is, what do you emerge as? Do you emerge as a victim? You know, the world did that to me, and the capitalists are crook, and the rich are bastards, and all this stuff? Or do you say, oh, this is the best thing that ever happened to me? The same as my health. I am ground zero for the coronavirus. All that does is inspire me to get healthier. So the overall theme of Brian Rose and London Real and Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad Poor Dad is, you're either going to get healthier and wealthier, or you're going to go bust. Your choice. It sits between your ears, your heart, your body, your mind, your spirit, your attitude. This could be the best thing that ever happened to you, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if you turn on to a butterfly, or somebody will step on you like a little worm. It's your choice.